Today, we're doing things different. We're taking a special trip down memory lane and cover the beloved TV show my wife and kids cast then and now. Because whether you watched it back then or are still rewatching it now, this show will always hold a special place in our hearts. First, let's talk about 40-year-old Damon Wayans, who had mastered the art of playing Michael Kyle. A father who didn't have all the answers but had more than enough opinions. He cared deeply and showed it by never letting his kids off the hook. As a husband, he battled with his wife Jay like it was the playoffs every week, but he never gave up. That's what stuck with me. Not his jokes, but his consistency. In my opinion, Michael Kyle was the kind of man we don't celebrate enough. And in real life, he accurately portrayed us, the modern-day man. Trying to lead, trying to love, trying to keep it all together. And the harsh truth? Nicki Minaj said it best. People will love and support you when it's beneficial. But let's change that. To the world watching, when's the last time you thought of someone other than yourself? Your strong father? Your tired husband? Your quiet brother? Tell them you're proud. Tell them you're grateful. Hug them like you mean it. And mean it. Next up, we have the 32-year-old Jay Kyle, brought to life by Tisha Campbell. Jay was the kind of woman who showed up for everyone, but forgot to show up for herself. She gave, poured, sacrificed, smoothed things over, and somewhere along the way, her name got replaced with, "What's for dinner?" And when she finally spoke up, when she snapped, when she got loud, they called her dramatic, unreasonable, toxic. But how do you expect a woman to stay soft when she's been stretched so thin? Jay taught us that sometimes the only way to be heard is to raise your voice, even if it shakes. Question to the modern women. How many times have you stayed quiet just to keep the peace? And men, when your wife finally tells you what she needs, do you hear anger or do you hear the years she stayed silent? And back to the kids. Have you ever asked your mom how she's doing? Or do you just wait until you need something? Say hello to 5-year-old Parker McKenna Posey, who stepped into the tiny shoes of Kady J. Kyle and played the youngest daughter like a well-tuned instrument. Kady wasn't just adorable, she was strategic. The pigtails, the wide eyes, the baby voice, weapons. And while everyone was busy saying how sweet she was busy pulling strings like a tiny puppet master. Being the baby means you get the warmest hugs and the softest discipline. And I know, because I've been that kid. For parents, kids like this test everything. You want to protect them, hold them close, give them all the love you didn't know you had left. But here's the warning. Love without boundaries turns into entitlement. And for all the siblings out there with a last born in their life, I get it. Actually, I don't. I am the last born. And honestly, we earned every inch of that soft treatment. We didn't make the rules. We just benefited from them. Say hello to 15-year-old Jennifer Freeman, who brought Claire Kyle to life with a kind of honesty most people don't expect from teenage girls. Claire wasn't perfect. She was emotional, bold, defensive, and underneath it all, she was scared. Being the first girl in a family brings its own weight. You're expected to be graceful, strong, sweet, and self-aware, all before you even know who you are. Add being the middle child, and suddenly you're not just carrying expectations, you're fighting to be seen. I've watched girls like Claire walk through the world smiling in public and crying behind bathroom doors. And I wonder, how many right now are doing that exact same thing? We ask so much of them and rarely ask the most important question. Are you okay? Through her heartbreaks, eye rolls, and sarcastic comebacks, she showed us that growing up as a girl isn't a soft transition. It's war with your body, your parents, and your own reflection. Jennifer didn't just act. She represented. And for every girl who's been caught between what's expected and who they actually are, Claire was a little bit of therapy. Step into the world of 6-year-old Noah Gray-Cabey, who transformed into Franklin Aloyisious Mumford, a boy whose mind raced far beyond his years, a prodigy who could compose symphonies before most kids learned multiplication. Franklin was sincere, sensitive, romantic, and mature, often carrying himself like a miniature adult with a heart that felt everything deeply and a mind far beyond his years. Franklin wasn't just intelligent, he was genius level, Harvard graduate before recess intelligent. But here's the hard part about being a genius at that age. The world doesn't know what to do with you. Adults either marvel or recoil. Peers drift away or compete. And in the middle of that noise, you start asking yourself, am I being celebrated or just studied? I've seen kids like Franklin, bright, brilliant, and quietly overwhelmed. They lower their hands in class to avoid the stares. They dumb down their speech just to belong. Franklin made us laugh, yes, but he also made us think. He showed us that being gifted isn't just a badge. Sometimes it's a weight that makes joy harder to carry. And if you've ever been told you're too smart for your age, or felt like the only one thinking on a different level, you know exactly how lonely that gift can feel. Meet 18-year-old George O. Gore II, the face behind Michael Richard Kyle Jr., a role that peeled back the layers of what it means to become a man before you're ready. Junior wasn't just the son. He was the firstborn, the prototype, the test run for parenting. Firstborns don't get instructions. They are the instructions. And that weight? It shows. He was expected to be mature, calm, helpful, and somehow still a kid. But here's the truth. When younger siblings arrive, attention shifts. You go from being the baby to being the example. The hugs get fewer, the discipline gets harder, and the pressure to be perfect gets louder. I watch our firstborn and see the same weight. They're treated like a third parent, expected to hold it all together without complaint. Watching Junior navigate those moments felt like watching real life. He reminded us that being the oldest isn't a privilege. It's a responsibility that can get lonely real fast. Junior was awkward, misunderstood, and constantly learning, which is exactly what makes him the most honest character in the room. Here's someone you probably forgot about. 12-year-old Jazz Raycole, the first version of Claire Kyle in Season 1, before the role was passed to Jennifer Freeman from Seasons 2 to 5. Jazz brought something special to Claire, a quirky, smart-mouthed, confident preteen who felt like someone we all knew. She was the kind of girl who seemed to have it all figured out, always a few steps ahead, and still stumbling through her own brilliant mess. Smart kids like Claire carry an invisible weight. They're celebrated for their sharp minds, yet criticized the moment they act their age. It's a quiet double standard, and I've seen it. How young girls like her are nudged toward perfection before they're even ready. Claire wasn't just the middle child. She was the one who got missed in the shuffle until she messed up. Then everyone noticed. But Claire pushed back. She tested boundaries, spoke her truth, and underneath the sass was a quiet hope that someone, somewhere, was actually listening. Jazz Raycole didn't just play Claire, she understood her. And if you've ever felt like you had to talk louder just to be heard, or questioned your worth even while being praised, then Claire's story is yours too. Let's welcome Brooklyn Sudano, just 22 when she stepped into the role of Vanessa Scott Kyle, Michael Jr.'s steady girlfriend, and eventually his wife. She took over the role after Meagan Good, and with grace and quiet power, made it her own. But Vanessa was never just someone's partner. She was the girl who had to grow up fast, who traded in late nights and freedom for diapers and responsibilities, all while trying to hold on to pieces of herself. What struck me most about Brooklyn's portrayal was the stillness, the quiet weight of a young woman who wasn't loud but was never weak. Vanessa was soft but sure, kind but guarded. She smiled even when the world asked too much of her. And I've seen girls like her in real life. Too loyal, too tired, too overlooked. People praised her maturity without ever asking what it cost. And yet, she kept showing up, not just for Junior, but for herself. In her, we saw the truth, that love is not just sweet, it's sacrifice. And sometimes, growing up isn't a choice you make. It's something life demands from you, ready or not. Up next is Meagan Good, just 21 years old when she first brought Vanessa Scott to life. Junior's girlfriend, and soon after, the girl carrying his child. Vanessa was the kind of girl who fell in love with everything she had. She gave her heart, her trust, and her future to someone who hadn't quite earned it yet. And when life hit hard, she didn't get a second to catch her breath. I've seen girls like her, protected by strict mothers, adored by soft-hearted fathers, who still end up navigating womanhood before they're ready. Too often, girls like Vanessa fall hard and fast, while the boys they trust are too careless to see the damage they leave behind. And the parents? Strict when they should be guiding. silent when they should be explaining. We don't talk enough about how discipline without dialogue leaves girls unprepared and boys unchecked. Vanessa's story isn't just emotional, it's real. It's the story of growing up while trying to hold on to a love that wasn't ready to grow with her. Here's something we don't talk about enough. The most honest kid in the room? He's usually the one nobody believes. That's the world 14-year-old Andrew McFarlane walked into when he became Tony Jefferson, the kid who couldn't lie even if it saved him. Tony didn't just tell the truth, he blurted it. He apologized before anyone blamed him, confessed before anyone asked, and somehow, that raw honesty made him the punchline. But I've met kids like Tony, the ones who wear their integrity so loudly, people assume it's an act. Being too honest doesn't just get you doubted, it gets you used. You become the easy target, the kid who always owns up, so no one else has to. And still, Tony stayed kind. Still, he believed in right over easy. That kind of goodness? It's rare. He reminded us that being good-hearted in a world that laughs at sincerity is a quiet kind of courage. And I wonder how many kids out there are just like Tony, punished not for lying, but for being too real. You ever meet someone who means well, really well, but just doesn't have a clue? That was John. Brought to life by 18-year-old Damon Weighins Jr., the ride-or-die friend who had no idea what ride or die meant. But he showed up anyway. He didn't overthink loyalty. He just gave it. Freely, recklessly, beautifully. I've seen people like him get laughed at, talked over, underestimated. And yet, they're the first ones to show up when you're hurting. John might not have always understood what was going on, but his heart was always in the right place. His confidence was almost confusing, but there was something oddly admirable about it. He reminded us that intelligence isn't the only kind of wisdom. Sometimes being present, fully, unconditionally, is smarter than any plan. Because the truth is, loyalty without agenda, that's rare. That's love. Time moves forward, but great black sitcoms stand still in our hearts. My wife and kids brought us joy, lessons, and characters we'll never forget. The cast has grown, evolved, and ventured into new chapters, but the love for the show remains the same. As we look back on the cast of My Wife and Kids then and now, one thing is clear. Some shows leave a lasting mark, and this one is no exception. Thank you for watching and reminiscing with us. Until next time, stay nostalgic, stay inspired, and keep celebrating the shows that made us smile.